Hi, Junior Church kids. Welcome to another week of virtual Junior Church. I can't wait till we can have Junior Church in person, but I'm glad we can at least keep going through the book of Joshua and learning about what God has done for the Israelites. And so today we are up to Joshua chapter 10. And if I want to review a little bit to make sure we have the right setting and right mindset before we enter today's story. So I want to remind you, last week we talked about how God had led the Israelites in the promised land, and the Israelites had made Gilgal their home base. And Gilgal there on the map is circled with the like orange or yellow circle, depending on what the colors how the colors come through on your screen. That's where Gilgal is. Now, Gilgal is where all the women and children stayed all the time, and the men that were the soldiers would leave Gilgal and go to have a battle, and then come back to Gilgal, and then they go out to their next battle and come back. So Gilgal was kind of like their home base and basically where they were living for right now. Then 3 weeks ago, we talked about how God helped Israelites defeat Jericho. And so that's marked on the map with a red X over the city of Jericho. And then 2 weeks ago, we talked about how God helped the Israelites defeat Ai. And that also has a red X on it. So the X's show where the Israelites have already conquered those cities, and now they're moving on. And now, if last week we talked about how the Gibeonites, the people from Gibeon, had tricked the Israelites. They made them think they were really from far away when really they were just the next town over. And so the Israelites had wrongfully, but they signed a peace treaty with the Gibeonites. So that meant not only were they not going to attack the Gibeonites, and they said, no, we promise you we will not do that, but they also means if somebody else attacks the Gibeonites, the Israelites will come and help defend them and help fight with them and like basically be their partners and be on the same team. So the Gibeon was a big town. It was bigger than Ai was, the town that was destroyed 2 weeks ago. And the other cities around were kind of mad at Gibeon for being so tricky because they knew Israel wouldn't sign a treaty with them. So they decided they would get together. So the king of Jerusalem started all. So Jerusalem is there circled in the red. And the king talked to 4 other kings. And I'm going to read those cities, and you can find them there on the map. That all these cities are circled in the red. He talked to the kings of the cities of Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. And the king talked to all of those other kings and said, hey, this isn't right that Gibeon made this peace treaty. Let's go attack Gibeon to show them we're not happy with them. So they did that. They all got together. All 5 of those kings got all their armies together, and they went up and they attacked Gibeon. Well, Gibeon got all attacked and was in trouble. So they sent a messenger to go talk to Joshua and said, Joshua, we need your help. We need the Israelites to come protect us because we're getting attacked by these 5 different countries or 5 different cities with their kings. And so Joshua got the whole army of Israel, not just a few thousand, but all of them. He got the whole army of all his best fighting men, and they marched all night to get from Gilgal to Gibeon. And they got there and they started fighting, and God was helping them win the battle. And the 5 kings with their soldiers started running away, and Joshua and his soldiers kept fighting them. But then God first of all, I got to tell you, on the way there, God said, Joshua, you go fight them. Don't be afraid. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged. Sound familiar? Because I'm going to be with you, and I will help you fight this battle. And so the Israelites get there, and they are fighting great, and they are winning. But then God does something amazing that helps win the battle for them. God sends a hailstorm. And I don't know if you've ever seen hail before, but it's basically chunks of ice. They look like snowballs, but they're ice. So they're harder and more dense than what snow is. And so there's a picture there, on the left side of the screen, you'll see it looks like a hailstorm. So it's like it's raining hail. And then on the other side, it shows just the ground covered with big hail balls. So if you can imagine, if those are coming down from the sky and they hit you, that could hurt you. And sure enough, God used the hail to defeat the army. And in fact, the Bible says that more of the soldiers from the enemies were taken care of by God's hail than what the Israelite soldiers' swords were able to hurt. So God fought the battle for them by sending this hailstorm, and that's really cool that God did that for them. Then something else exciting happened, that this is the only place in the Bible, both of these things, the hail and the next thing I'm going to tell you, are the only time in the Bible these miracles are mentioned. And so they're pretty extra special to have them both in one story. So then Joshua is still, and his men are still fighting. And then all of a sudden Joshua yells out to the sun and says, "Sun, stand still." And God listened to Joshua and let Joshua have his request, or his kind of was more of a bossy command, but God was with Joshua, so he did what Joshua asked, and God made the sun stand still. Because normally the sun, he actually more made the earth stand still, but made it so that the sun wasn't traveling through the sky anymore, but the sun just stayed above there, so it was daytime for a whole nother 24 hours. So which is another miracle, that God gave the Israelites all the energy and ability to be able to stay awake for all that time, because they'd already marched all night to get from Gilgal to Gibeon, and then they were fighting, and then God made it so it was bright out, and a whole nother day was there with the sun out, and they were able to keep fighting and all through the night. And so that was the way God helped the Israelites win the battle. And this is what I want to read you, the verse from Joshua 10:14 after they've won, and especially talking about the sun staying still. It says, "There's never been a day like it before or since, a day when the Lord listened to a human being. Surely the Lord was fighting for Israel." So we're gonna sing one more song, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what we've learned.